and welcome to Returning to School. My name is Miss Emma and I'm based at Earlham Primary School, part of the Echo Trust. And the Echo Trust have asked me to make this video for you because they want you to know how much schools care about you feeling happy returning to school. We all know you have so many different emotions at the moment. There's so many things you might be feeling about coming back to school when you've been in lockdown for so many weeks. And this video is going to hopefully answer lots of your questions, but there's going to do two main things. It's going to help you understand that your school and your teachers care about you so much and they want to help you with all the emotions that you might be struggling with, any of the difficult or tricky emotions. And number two, that they are doing everything they can to make sure that you are as safe as possible from coronavirus. Now, I made a video for you all called Why It's So Important to Know About the Stress Response. And you can find this on the orange playlist. It looks like this. Now, this is a really important video because it helps you understand what happens in your brain and your body when you're worrying, when you're fearful, when you've got lots of anxiety and really uncomfortable emotions. And it's an important video because it helps you know that this is completely normal, but also finding ways to help turn your stress response down and eventually turn it off so that you start to feel more comfortable and more calm again. The lockdown has been really challenging for everybody, for grown-ups and for children. And everybody has been feeling very different during lockdown. Everybody's stress responses has turned on, and some people are finding it very challenging to feel normal, to feel safe, and to feel happy and comfortable in their bodies. Now, you might be feeling so many different emotions at the moment. Some of them might be quite positive. You might be excited about going back to school, to seeing your friends, to seeing your favourite teachers, to getting out of the house because you've been stuck inside for so many weeks. You might be feeling a bit relieved. You might be feeling that kind of excited nervousness about returning. But you also might be feeling really worried, really fearful, really anxious, a bit panicky, a bit sick. There's so many different emotions that you might be feeling right now, and that in itself can be really tricky. But remember, it's normal to be feeling all of these things. Even the grown-ups are feeling a lot of these things too. The way to make these difficult feelings seem more manageable and to make them start to go away is by talking about them. Now, when we go back to school, your teachers want you to talk to them about how you're feeling. When you go back, you'll find that there's a lot more PSHE time, a lot more circle time, a lot more activities that you might do as a whole class and as small groups to really start exploring how you're feeling, to giving you the opportunities to saying, yeah, this is how I feel. So be brave. No one's going to laugh at you because everyone's feeling the same. And if you're brave enough to say, I feel really panicky, I've not been sleeping very well, then somebody else is going to be able to say, yeah, me too, I feel exactly the same. But more importantly, your teachers are going to be able to help you. Because when we talk about our feelings and our emotions, they start to get smaller and we start to be able to, now if you watch the stress response video, you'll know what I mean. We start to help our librarian who's in our brains, who's all muddled up and confused at the moment, doesn't know where to put our books. We can help her or him start to put the books away and start to make our bodies and our brains feel so much more calmer and so much more safe. There are no such things as a silly question. It could be that you guys have got loads of questions about what's going on, about the coronavirus, about what school's going to be like, that you might not feel you can ask your grown-ups at home. For whatever reason that might be, You might have some questions that are kind of stuck inside and you keep going over and over them in your head. And to have them answered is going to be really helpful. And your teachers are all there to do that. No one's going to laugh at you. And like I said, there's no such thing as a silly question. And perhaps somebody else is thinking the exact same thing as you, but they haven't got the nerve to be able to ask it. So if you can ask it, you're helping everybody. Sometimes we might feel like it's safer to keep our feelings inside. But what happens then is they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And everything else starts to feel bigger and bigger and bigger. And before we know it, we are just full of worries and fears and questions that aren't answered. And our stress response gets even bigger and bigger. So it's really important, because when we can talk about our feelings, when we can share them with other people, particularly a trusted grown-up, things start to feel more manageable. Now, it's not to say they're going to go away and everything's going to be perfect, but they will start to feel better. You will start to feel more in control of them. No one is going to expect you to be completely fine about coming back to school. Even some of the teachers are feeling nervous about coming back to school. We've all been in lockdown for so long, and we know that some of you haven't even left your houses for the whole of the time we've been in lockdown. So actually, even just leaving our house and walking down the street and coming to school is going to be a really big thing for you. We do understand that. When we keep our big worries and our fears to ourselves, those worries can get bigger and bigger and bigger. And when we don't ask the questions that we'd like to know, we're only left with our imaginations and what we might imagine could happen. And often that's so much more scary than actually knowing the truth, knowing the real thing. We know lots of children have got some really big questions that they'd like to be answered. So this video is going to try and answer some of them for you. Now, if there's any that we haven't answered, you can put your question in the comment box. Now, I won't be able to get back to all of them, but what teachers can do is look at these and they will have a good idea of what it is that you want to know more about. So a lot of children are asking, well, how does coronavirus spread? Coronavirus is something that is completely new. So we don't have a huge amount of information on it, but the scientists are all working really, really hard to find out more about it and also to find out how to stop it. What we know so far is that the coronavirus travels through touch. So if I have coronavirus and I touch a ball, I can leave coronavirus on the ball and that will stay on there for a good few hours. So it can be passed through touch. Coronavirus can also be passed through tiny little water droplets. So when we cough or when we sneeze, tiny, tiny little bits of water droplets, like tiny puddles, come out of our mouth and come out of our nose. And if somebody else, if walking past me, if I sneezed and they breathed in my water droplets, then they could catch coronavirus if I had coronavirus. So that's the two ways that we know it passes, through touch and through water droplets. It doesn't pass through the air. So going outside is completely safe because the air is not going to give us coronavirus. It's only the tiny droplets of water. Staying away from our friends, I'm sure you will have heard the term social distancing, and that means not getting close to people, so standing 2 meters away. And this means that the tiny little water droplets are not going to get you, and you're not sharing things that you're touching. So that is how coronavirus is spread. Will I catch coronavirus at school? Now, nobody can promise you that you won't catch coronavirus at school, but what we can promise you is that the teachers are doing everything possible to make your chances of catching coronavirus as tiny, tiny as possible. So they're going to be doing this in lots of different ways. So let's walk through some of them now. We know that social distancing is important. We've got to keep 2 meters away from people. So usually at the start of the school day, before lockdown, everybody would come at the same time. All the parents would be chatting, the kids, all of them, from reception to year 6, possibly nursery as well in some schools, and everyone would be together. Well, we're not going to have that now when you return to school. To keep people safe and to make sure that everyone can keep 2 meters apart, you're going to come to school at different times. So some classes will come in the very beginning of the morning, one class at a time. So for instance, it might be year 6 that come first. So only the parents from year 6 will be allowed near the gate, and the parents will not be allowed in the playgrounds. So the parents can stand on the pavement and stay 2 meters apart, and you as your class will be able to come in, staying 2 meters apart into the playground. Then you will have your temperature taken. If you have a temperature that is over 37.7 degrees, then you'll be asked to go home, because a temperature is one of the signs that you might have coronavirus. If your temperature is under 37.7 degrees, then you're allowed to come into school. But before you go in the building, you need to wash your hands, because remember, we know that the coronavirus can be spread through touch. So you're going to wash your hands for 20 seconds using soap that is going to help kill any corona germs that could be on your hands. Then when you come into school, you're going to be in your classroom. You will stay 2 meters apart in your classroom. However, we know that's going to be really tricky for everybody to do. So within your class, you're going to have some little groups that you will be in. And you won't be able to mix those groups, but you'll all be together as one class, but there'll be a smaller little groups within your class, because it's going to be really hard to keep 2 meters away. We're going to encourage you to and help you try your best, but if you stick within those little groups, that's going to stop any spreading getting smaller and smaller. We're reducing the risk. Okay? So these are ways that we are going to stop you from catching coronavirus at school. The teachers are going to remind you to wash your hands lots and lots throughout the day. And the teachers are also going to keep your classrooms really, really clean. And you'll notice that the rugs won't be there, the cushions won't be there, because those are things that are quite hard to keep clean. So you're going to have special sprays in the classroom that will kill the germs. And you'll be encouraged not to share any resources outside of your little group. So within your little group, you can probably share the rulers and the pencils if you need to, but you wouldn't share them with people from another group. And during the day, you're going to keep everything clean as well. So we can't promise you that you won't get coronavirus at school, but we're going to try everything we can to make the chances of it happening so tiny. Will school be the same or will it be different? School's going to be very different. We're going to try and keep it as same as we can, because then it will feel more familiar to you, but it is going to be different. We've just mentioned that you're going to be coming into school at different times, that you're going to have your temperature taken and hand washing. Usually the whole class gets to mix with other classes for assemblies. You walk through the corridors together at different times, so at lunchtimes and playtimes, you all mix together. Well, it's going to be different. So you're going to spend a lot of time in your classroom. You will get to go outside for playtime, and we'll answer that as one of the other questions in a minute. But when you move around school, we'll try to keep it just one class at a time in the corridor, and there'll be one-way systems, so you can only travel in one direction, so that we don't get lots of people mixing with each other. The teachers are going to be the same. Your classroom's going to look pretty much the same, except some things will be slightly different. But school won't be the same as before lockdown, which can feel a bit scary. But remember, your teacher's going to be talking to you all the time about how you're feeling. You're going to be able to let them know how you're feeling, what things you're finding hard, what things you kind of like. And together as a class, you can do lots of problem solving to try and make the tricky bits a lot easier. Can I play with my friends? Yes and no. So you can play with your friends in your class, but we have to remember to try to keep 2 meters away. Now, normally at playtime, we have everybody out there. Well, from now on at playtimes and lunchtimes, you'll take it in turns with just your class. So there'll be a period of time that you're outside and it will just be your teacher, possibly your TA and your class. Now, you won't be able to play some of the games you normally play that involve touching each other. So the teachers are actually going to do a lot more playing with you and teach you a lot more playground games where you can run and play together without kind of touching or playing fighting games and any of the games you might usually enjoy. You won't be able to play with friends from other classes or other year groups. What will happen at playtime and at lunchtime? Well, we've already mentioned that your teachers are going to be playing a lot more games with you. Unfortunately, you're not going to be allowed on the playground equipment, and that's because it's just too big to keep clean. Remember, coronavirus can spread through touch, but you can play with the smaller playground equipment like balls and skipping ropes and all the other fun stuff. But we just have to make sure that we clean it first. So when it's our turn to go out to play, your class with your teacher and your TA are going to clean it using the special sprays, and then you'll be able to play with it. And then you will leave it, and the next class that comes out to play, they will clean it before they start to play. So there will be a lot of playing going on. And when it's not your turn to be in the playground, you'll be in your classroom, and there'll be different things that you can play in there. You'll also be eating your lunch in there. So if you have school dinners usually, you can still have school dinners. They will be brought to your classroom, and you'll get to sit in your class with your teacher and your friends and eat your packed lunch and your school dinner together. Will I get told off if I forget to keep 2 meters away from my friends? Your teachers understand that keeping 2 meters away is going to be tricky, but the expectation is that you are going to try your hardest to remember to do it and to follow the rules. Now, your teachers are going to be encouraging you all the time with gentle reminders, but we do need you to also take some responsibility and to not only remind yourself, but to remind other people if you see them touching. If other people are touching, you can go and remind them about the rules and that it's time to wash their hands. And if you do forget, then that's something you can do. If you aren't taking responsibility and you're not even trying to remember, and the teachers are constantly having to keep talking to you about it, then that is something that you do need to address, and the teachers will help you to address, because we're all in this together and we all have to try as hard as we can to make sure we're keeping each other safe. What should I do if I need to cough or sneeze? Now, as we spoke about, coughing and sneezing means tiny little water droplets come out of our mouth and our nose. And at the moment, it's hay fever season. So if you suffer from hay fever, you're probably going to be coughing and sneezing more than usual. That doesn't mean you have the coronavirus, but it means that we need to be careful about the water droplets that are coming out of our face. So make sure you always carry some tissues in your pocket. Your teachers will make sure there's lots of tissues in the classroom. And if you need to sneeze, start to be aware of what that feels like before it comes out. So normally before we sneeze, we'll feel a tickle in our nose. And before we cough, we'll feel like a tickly feeling in the back of our neck. So when you feel them, quickly grab a tissue, hold it over your mouth as you cough, or put the tissue over your nose as you sneeze. And when you finish with that, roll it in a ball, put it in the bin, and then go and wash your hands. If you haven't got a tissue to hand, or it's coming so quickly you can't stop it, then you can cough into your elbow. So or sneeze. That way, the water droplets are going to get caught here, but your hands are clean. Go to the bathroom, wash your hands, and wash that part of your arm. What if someone in my class gets coronavirus? That's a really good question. Coronavirus is a little bit like other illnesses like chickenpox, where we can have the germs for a little while before we start to show the symptoms. So there is a chance that somebody might get coronavirus whilst they've come back to school, because actually they seem fine, they haven't got a temperature, they don't feel poorly, but then after a few days they start to feel unwell. Now, this is very unlikely to happen because we're washing our hands, we're checking the temperatures before people come into school, we're not letting you mix with lots of children, just a few children within your actual class. But should somebody in your class get coronavirus, what would happen is they'd start to feel unwell. So the teacher would know that they were feeling unwell. They'd take their temperature. If the temperature was over 37.7 or they were really feeling unwell, they started to cough or sneeze and have headaches, then that child would be taken to a special room where there will be a member of staff to keep them safe. But this member of staff will be wearing some equipment. They'll be wearing some masks on their face to make sure that they don't get any of the water droplets, and they'll also be wearing some gloves on their hands. And that child will stay there until their parents come to pick them up. Now that child will have to stay off school for the entirety that they're ill, and then another 7 days, another week when they start to get better. And that's to make sure that the germs have completely gone. Now, the class that that child was in, they will also have to go home. And they will have to stay at home for 14 days to make sure that they don't get the germs. Now, after 14 days, if they haven't got coronavirus, then that means they're fine, they haven't got it, and then they can come back to school. Okay, masks are scary. Will teachers be wearing masks? The answer to that is no. Your class teacher will not be wearing a mask and they won't be wearing gloves. The only time that teachers will wear masks and gloves is in that special room that we just talked about where somebody who has the symptoms of coronavirus are, or when changing very young children who might need help going to the toilet, or if they're trying to help a child that's really upset and maybe there's a possibility they might get spat on or some of the little water droplets might come out. But for the most part of the day, all the teachers will be normal. So you'll be able to see their faces and it won't be wearing scary masks. Some teachers who might have some people at home that are more vulnerable to coronavirus, and that means they might catch the germs a bit more easily. For instance, if they have asthma or if they have diabetes, then they might choose to wear the mask to help protect their family members at home. But the majority of the teachers will be no masks. Do I have to wear gloves and masks? The answer to that is no. Nobody is expected to be wearing them unless there's a real reason, like we just spoke about. If there's people at home in your house that are at risk of catching the germs more easily. So if they're poorly or if they're over 70 years old. What if I'm too worried to concentrate on my work? This goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the video about how important it is to talk to your teachers about how you're feeling, and remember that all the teachers understand how difficult this is right now and they want to help and they want you to tell them how you're feeling. I hope this has answered a lot of the questions that you have and that you're beginning to feel a little bit more confident about returning to school, knowing that your teachers are going to be really caring and really empathizing about how you're feeling, that there's going to be lots of chances to talk about it and explore how everyone's feeling, and know that it's normal to be having lots of different feelings about coming back to school. And also know that the school are trying every single thing possible to keep you safe and to make your chances of catching coronavirus absolutely tiny. As I said, if you do have any questions, pop them in the comment box, and then the teachers at school will be able to read them and know what it is that you will need a bit more information about when you do come back to school. In the meantime, do check out the video that I made for you called Worries and Fears on the Orange playlist, which will help you learn a little bit more about why you worry and all the different things you can do to make those worries feel a lot smaller and a lot easier to manage. So check that out as well. As always, know that all the grown-ups at the Echo Trust are thinking about you, and you are not alone.